Happy Halloween in 3 days, 4 days, 5 days. Today's what? 27th, 4 days, in 4 days. Although I'm Dylan Lang, and I'm on day 10 of my 13 days of Halloween, a thing I've never done before in my life where I've done a show a day. I've done it for 10 straight days now, and it's going to be exhausting, but the finales are coming up. And I even have a breather on Tuesday. I have an episode tomorrow. I think it's my top Halloween costumes. Tuesday, tentatively still, my daughter is going to be doing an episode about Monster High. And then Wednesday, Halloween Eve, Mischief Night, whatever you want to call it, the top reasons why Halloween is great. And then it's going to be Halloween. I'm not going to do a show on Halloween because I'll be too busy with the trick-or-treaters, stuff like that. But we've got a long ways to go. Not really a long ways to go. But it's Sunday night. I got to go to work here, so I'm going to try to blow through this one. It's almost 10:30, and I usually go to bed by about 11:30, but that ain't going to happen tonight. I'm probably going to be 12 o'clock today because I think I can get through this about an hour and a half. This is going to be a fun one. This is the top 25 best Halloween specials and episodes, our TV episodes. Every show, not every show, but most shows that are on network TV or even on streaming and stuff like that, they tend to do special Halloween-based episodes. They do Christmas ones also, and I'll be doing a Christmas episode one down at Christmas time. But and then of course you have, when you were younger, they used to have the Halloween specials. Not as many Halloween specials as there are Christmas specials, and some of the Halloween specials that are out there, like Halloween Tree and the Grinch Night, stuff like that, I've never seen because I've never had it shown when I was growing up, and I've never seen it anywhere else. So those aren't on my list, even though I am in the middle of reading Halloween Tree right now, and the Grinch Halloween episode would be interesting to see, but I've never seen it before. So those are the reasons why they're not on the list. I was contemplating doing it, but I'm trying to do shows that I've actually seen and know about. So, and here we go. I think I got 25 good ones, and of course 2 honorable mentions as well. This took me a little while to figure out because I gotta make some adjustments to the list. First of all, this is my list. So I heard that, Kitty. You okay? Yeah, there she is. There's my boy. I had to make some adjustments to my list, but real quick, this is my list. These are my top 25. It's a fluid list, and actually I think I'm probably going to switch these around in a little bit next time around, because I was really kind of paying attention to the Ravens game, which they lost, by the way, which sucked, and trying to write this up in time. I think I got the right number, the right countdown. But there might be some changes here and there. We'll see. But as I said, it's a fluid list. So if I did this again next year, it would probably be a different list than this. Plus, I might have seen some other different Halloween episodes or rewatched something and redid it. Like the Community Halloween episode. My wife and daughter are in the middle of watching Community right now. And I watched some of the episodes with them, but not all of them. And I'm not really paying much attention. I missed the Halloween episode for Community, but I heard it's pretty good. That probably would have been on this list if I would have seen that. Same thing with my wife and daughter watch Parks and Rec. I know there's at least a couple Halloween episodes there, and I missed out on those also. I think I saw one of them, but I wasn't really paying much attention, so I didn't put those on the list either. But if I go back and decide to watch them again, they might pop up on this list in place of other stuff as well. Other stuff is also things I haven't seen in a really long time, but I do remember how much I love them, so that's why they're on the list. So again, this is my list. It's fluid, so this isn't set in stone. Second, if you don't like the list, that's your opinion. This is my opinion. You can leave a comment if you want, but don't be a dick about it. If you want to do your list, you can. And don't say I'm crazy, but this is my taste and my opinion. You might have different taste and opinion, and that's perfectly fine with me. Also, real quick, the reason why I didn't do Stranger Things in this one either, even though they did have a Halloween episode, was because the whole season is practically based in Halloween of season 2. So I said it'd just be easier just to do it this way. I probably should have done that as one of the set lists, which is the next thing I'm talking about. So shows like The Simpsons and Brooklyn Nine-Nine and Sabrina the Teenage Witch, they've done in their whole 8 to 10 season runs, they've always done Halloween episodes, and they're all really, really good. So I couldn't just pick one. So I combined those three particularly. I combined those three together because there's so many good ones out there. Now you're also going to see some repeats. South Park has 3 episodes on this list. They probably have more, but these are the 3 I like most. But I decided I'd rather talk about these each separately than all the different Simpsons, Brooklyn Nine-Nines, and Sabrina's out there. Same with Buffy. Buffy has 2 on this list, so I'll cover those as well. And there's something you're probably not even going to expect. So that's what's going on here. Again, these are my lists. This is my way I'm doing things, and you might call it cheating, but that's how I do things. So I want to get started because I want to try to finish this before midnight. I'm going to try to get this done in about an hour. I don't think it's going to happen because I'm already 5 minutes in, but here we go. So it might be a little bit quicker than usual, but you'll get the gist of it. We'll see. It'll come out as a general malaise. And now I'm just chit-chatting just to get it moving. Here we go. So first up, the honorable mentions. I'm just going to talk about these briefly. Roseanne always used to do great Halloween episodes. It was one of the biggest things that they always did. Everybody's looking forward to it. I hate Roseanne, not just the actress, who I do despise also, but the show. I was never a big fan of it. But it would be adverse of me not to mention an honorable mention. And look, you might call that cheating a little bit. I've never seen any of the Roseanne ones, but I've seen bits and pieces, I guess, on reels and stuff like that. And they go all out on those. So I figured I'd just do that same thing here. And that's why it's honorable mention, because I try to do ones that I've actually seen that talk about. And then Ghost is the other one, that new show that's on CBS, which is a remake of a British sitcom. They do Halloween episodes all the time. Again, I haven't seen any of these, but I figured it'd be good for honorable mention because they do Halloween episodes every season. And because it's Ghosts, it makes perfect sense to have it on the list. Say what you want about that, whatever. That's how I do things. Now we're getting to the nitty gritty, the stuff I've actually gone and seen. And here we go. Number 25 is one you probably wouldn't even expect. This is the only Halloween episode that this show did. It's one of my favorite shows of all time. And it's disappointing. It's very disappointing. But it is one of my favorite shows of all time. It is their only Halloween episode, and I had to put it on here. Number 25 is Northern Exposure. Joel. I might remember some of the names of the episodes. Others, I'm just going to describe the episode to you. I don't know what seasons they're in, what episodes. I just remember seeing them. So this one I can tell you was in season 3, which is one of the greatest single seasons in television history, which I plan to do a list of that also. Once I get a few more, I think I've got about 5 or 6 down. I need to figure out a few more as well. But this one is Halloween really in a weird sort of way, wrapped around way, because it's really a psychological look at Joel Fleischman, Rob Morrow's character. And it starts off on Halloween night in Alaska. Joel's in a cabin, in the middle of nowhere, not expecting anything or anyone like that. It's like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. He's just sort of chilling. And he gets a knock at the door, and it's like, that's weird. And he opens the door, and it's a grown-up wearing a costume saying trick or treat. And he's like, are you serious? How old are you? And then Joel doesn't give him anything or whatever. And the dude yells and calls him he sucks or throws eggs at his cabin or whatever. And Joel runs after him and bonks his head on his the pitch of his roof. And then it opens up with him at daytime in Northern Exposure. And it's a greased hair, slicked back, like slick New York style Joel, who's just showed up in a cab with a beauty queen, and he leaves, and he gets out, pays off the guy, and leaves. Turns out that it's Joel's twin brother Jules, who is a troublemaker, and he's looking for Joel. Maggie immediately thinks something's wrong with Joel because she doesn't know that he has a twin, and he flirts with her a little bit, but then she's like, you're acting really weird, whatever. And then Joel finds out that he's in town, and we find out that he has a twin brother, and they decide that they're going to switch like they used to. Like Joel can be Jules and Jules can be Joel, because Jules is like his id in the end. We find out eventually is like the bad side of Joel Fleischman, and Joel is the good side of it. So they decide to switch, characters, whoever they are. And of course, all hell breaks loose Joel as Jules tries to commit some robberies, but ends up getting arrested and thrown in jail. Jules as Joel is trying to move in and really seduce Maggie, and it's kind of working a little bit. And then while Joel's in jail, dressed as Jules, he starts talking to who is that Viennese psychologist? Crap. Where you say something. Oh, crap. It's killing me here. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Cast. It'll pop up here in a second. Sigmund Freud, that's what. So Sigmund Freud pops up, and Joel starts having a discussion about his life and how he feels about Maggie and stuff like that. And it turns out that the whole Joel and Jules thing was a dream, because he wakes up and after being knocked unconscious, and Holly happened to be walking by or whatever and saw him and brought him inside, and they're taking care of him. So the ending's like a Wizard of Oz sort of ending. So Halloween doesn't really play a part. It's at the beginning of the movie, and then you had this sort of pretending to be someone else. And then the secondary story has Chris on the radio at night talking to somebody who is an old friend of his who's threatening to blow up something or commit suicide or whatever, and Chris has to talk him down. Turns out the same guy who went trick-or-treating at Joel's house. So it's a weird kind of connection, but not really sort of thing. It's not really a Halloween episode per se. It's set during Halloween, and it does have Joel pretending to be somebody else, but it is basically a investigation into Joel's psyche between his id and his super ego. And it's sort of, it's interesting in that aspect. One of the weaker episodes of that great season 3 season, but it's still a decent episode, and it is the only Halloween one. They did a great Thanksgiving one. They did a fantastic Christmas one. Later in the season, though, and I probably should have picked this one, even though it's not really a Halloween episode per se, Joel learns that there might be a ghost in his cabin, and he's trying to figure out a way to get rid of it. But then he realizes, he starts investigating. He finds out that someone killed themselves in his cabin. And so Joel starts investigating him and begins to see a lot of similarities to the guy with him, to this guy. And one of the things is that he never had a lot of friends. So Joel's trying to get a lot of friends there. It's one of the greatest episodes out there. So it's a sweet one. And that one might have been a little bit better for this list, but it did not actually take place on a Halloween, was not considered a Halloween episode, though there is a ghost connection to it. Number 24 is the only reality show on here. I talked about this show the other day when I talked about Spooky Series. Ghost Adventures, which is the one about the 3 bros who go around to haunted places and try to get scientific proof that ghosts exist. But they use scientific method, but they also try to, call out the ghosts and insult them and do stuff to try to get them to make their angry, to make their presence felt and stuff like that. So this was actually a great freaking idea, was go to one of the most haunted places in the area for a live show on Halloween, where the veil between the living and the dead is the thinnest. And it was actually a decent episode, and it's kind of exciting. It's live on Halloween. It's spookiness, ghosts, all kinds of creepy stuff, and in a haunted location. They had a bunch of guests to come on and help them out. But what ruined it in the end was that one of the people, the guests that they called on, faked some proof that the ghost exists. He said they're walking down this thing, and then he claims that his tape recorder or something was pulled out of his hand by a spirit. So they all get a little crazy about it and think that's crazy that the ghost didn't like that or whatever. And then when they're doing the research on it, they actually see that the dude actually threw it and claimed that a ghost moved it. So it kind of put a damper on it, but the idea itself is actually pretty cool, and I wish they do it more often. though it's been, I haven't watched Ghost Adventures or Ghost Hunters. Ghost Hunters I think doesn't even exist anymore, but I haven't watched Ghost Adventures in forever. And I think it'd be kind of cool if they sort of did a Halloween sort of live show again, because that's always kind of a neat little thing. So that's number 24. Number 23, we find another one that people probably aren't expecting to be on this list, the Quantum Leap Halloween episode. This is the original Quantum Leap show with Scott Bakula and Dean Stockwell. As I recall, I don't have specifics of what season and stuff like that. It was like, I think the first or second season. It was early on in the show's history before it started going more dramatic as the ratings were falling. The first couple seasons were just him helping people, and that was it. It was a procedural for the most part with a little bit of a sci-fi bent to it. This was kind of the first one that was a little off because I think it was the first season, and it's the Halloween episode that was the first one where we get a little bit more of the science fiction, fantasy, horror aspect to the show. It takes place on Halloween or right around Halloween in Maine, and in the 1960s, I think, 1950s, or it might be late 50s, like 59 or 60 or something like that. And he leaps into the body of a guy, like an actor or whatever, who is dressed up as a vampire and lives in this house. And weird things start happening. And Al seems to be acting a little weirder than normal also. And just bizarre things really start going crazy. And Al keeps telling him, you got to do this and got to do this. But it seems like he's always failing because he's always a few seconds short before whatever he was supposed to save or whatever. So it gets really, really kind of complicated. And then Sam, Scott Bakula's character, discovers something about Dean Stockwell's character, Al, that's throwing him off a little bit. And he discovers that, spoiler alert, that Al has not been the way. When Al comes to see him, since he's from the future, he opens, and he's a hologram, he opens up like a doorway and walks through it. That way Sam always knows when he's here. But Al just always seems to be, and also Ziggy makes noise when he presses the buttons. Al just always seems to be appearing in locations and is barely touching Ziggy and just reading what is on there and saying stuff. And then while he's starting to get a little suspicious, the real Al shows up, opening the door and everything. He says, it's been really weird. I haven't been able to get in contact with you the whole time. And he sees himself over there. And then the guy in the corner who is portraying Al, his eyes start to glow, and it's the devil. Because Sam has been righting his wrongs, he was trying to stop him. So the devil is able to interrupt one of these leaps, and it's one of the coolest ideas. And the whole episode is so freaking creepy. And it's such a complete different, because Quantum Leap was always kind of a procedural. You kind of knew what was going to go on. Sam gets into the body. He's got to figure out what's going on, figures out the storyline, figures out what he's got to do to help. And then he thinks he's doing the right thing. Turns out he's not doing the right thing. He's missing something. And then he figures out what he's missing, and he saves the day, and he moves on. That's kind of what happens. This episode was like all over the freaking place, and it was fantastic. And even funnier was the little dig at the end, not the dig, the little homage at the end, where there's been this little geeky guy who's been hanging around them, who's like his neighbor of the guy that Sam is playing. And his name is Stevie. And so at the very end, after all the weird stuff has happened, everything gets, and they beat the devil and stuff like that, a car that looks like Christine rolls up, and the woman who's the female companion of Sam's like, hello, Mrs. King. And there's a dog that looks like Cujo in the car. And Stevie calls him Cujo. And Al and Sam look at each other and go, Stevie King? And it was Stephen King as a kid. So, and because of the horror aspect, and it's such a great final little joke tap to the ending episode. And it is such an amazing episode. It's not even funny. It's so great. And that's number 23. Surprisingly enough, number 22 is another one a lot of people don't think I'd be on this list either, but might never ever heard of this. But Millennium, the Millennium Halloween episode from the, again, As I said, Northern Exposure season 3 was one of the best seasons of television history. Millennium season 2 was one of the best television seasons in TV history. And one of the reasons why is this episode, the Halloween episodes, like The Curse of Frank Black. And much like what Sam is dealing with, Frank Black's character squares off against the devil in one of the coolest sequences in the attic of the house that he's had to abandon. And there's other aspects to the episode, but that is the one thing that I glean on. And it is a Halloween episode because kids are egging the house because they think it's a haunted house and nobody's been living there for a year or whatever. And it's Halloween night and there's all kinds of other weird stuff going on. But then Frank Black has to take on the devil in the attic of this. It is such an amazing episode, and the battle between them is more of a battle of wits than a physicality, and it is outstanding. And that's why Millennium season 2 is one of the best. Again, nobody really knows about this show, and season 1's decent. Chris Carter, the creator of X-Files, is the creator of this one as well. Season 1 was decent, but it was all right. And season 3, they weren't expecting a season 3, so it was kind of shitty as well. Season 2 is the gem. Again, they have some episodes that are a little off, much like with Northern Exposure season 3. But when the whole is better than 1 or 2 episodes, that's why it's one of the best. I'll be talking about those again later. But this was one of the best Halloween episodes ever. And again, the devil makes his presence felt in this episode. And Lance Henriksen is just an amazing actor anyway, and it's just outstanding. And Millennium's Halloween episode where he takes on the devil is number 22. Number 21 is a Fat Albert Halloween special. I don't honestly, I have watched it. I've watched it a couple times, but that was back when I was a kid, and I don't remember much about it. I remember they were at there's a dude living somewhere, was telling a story or whatever, but I just remember it was always one of my favorites and I was always looking forward to it. And they didn't air it as much as like the Great Pumpkin and the other Halloween sort of stuff out there. And I always wished they would, and I honestly haven't seen it in decades. So, but I remember parts of it and I had to put it somewhere. And because I remember it so well from the 1980s and little aspects of it, and I think it's a unique Fat Albert, despite what you may think about Bill Cosby, it was still a very good show that taught good lessons and was also a all African-American cast. And yes, it was animated, and there are animated ones obviously on here, but it's still one of the best. And I wish I could remember, and maybe I should have done more research on it, but maybe I can look it up real quick. But I did see it multiple times, but back when I was, much younger, 40 some years ago. So let's see if I can, whoops, I want to do this. I want to look it up under Wikipedia. Would be better. Let's see if they have anything up here. It actually made the list of some, like, I think Entertainment Weekly did the best Halloween specials also, and the Fat Albert Halloween was one of them also. Fat Albert Halloween. Redacted from the Fat Albert Halloween special. Okay. Was it a... Well, it's not going to help me out in here. I don't think I'm going to be able to find it because it's just a list of episodes. Let's see, is there specials? Here we go. That will help. The Fat Albert Halloween special. After a night filled with more tricking than treating, Rudy and his friend Devry plan one last prank for spooky Mrs. Bakewell. When 2 of the kids disappear in the old widow's house, Fat Albert and the crew set out to find their missing friends. As I said, I remember it. I thought it was an old man, but I guess it is an old lady, I guess. And it's not a horrific thing. I remember what happened. It's not a horrific thing. It's actually a very, adorable thing. Older lady wants some help and stuff like that. It's a great one, and I wish I could see it again. It's been so long, but I had to put it somewhere, and because I'd had such good memories of it, I put it 21. I probably should have dropped it back further, maybe 24, 23, because I did like the other shows before, but I had to put it somewhere, and I thought that was a good number for it. Number 20 is Buffy Halloween Season 4, the Fear Demon episode. Season 2's Halloween episode is much better, and it's further up on the list. But Season 4 is interesting, mainly due to the fact that The ending is freaking hilarious after what happens, everything. Basically, this is season 4 is when she's on college campus. So her and her buddies decided to go to a Halloween party on campus, and they learned their lesson from the previous Halloween episode from 2 seasons ago. So they're wearing costumes that they either made themselves or found at different thrift shops to make sure that didn't make them come to life, and end up going to this party. And it turns out that at this party, to make a little bit added more experience for it, the people who are running the party decide to use witchcraft to try to draw the attention of a fear demon to come and celebrate the party with it, to make it more of a realistic thing. Of course, that throws Buffy for things like, why would you bring a fear demon into this? But it blocks off while they're doing this thing, it blocks off the building, and everybody has to start fighting their fears as the fear demon is trying to make his way through to get to where he needs to, but his power is already outreaching, and everybody has to face their fears and make their way out there. And this is where we find out that Anya's fear is bunnies, which I think is freaking hilarious, because she was a demon herself at one time. And I don't want to spoil the ending, but it's just so funny and so perfect for a Buffy Halloween episode. But it starts off really, really creepy, and then the facing their fears stuff happens, and then the stick, the stamp to the end of the episode just throws you like, what? And it's funny as hell. And that's all I'm going to say about that. I'm not, those who know, but yes, number 20 is Buffy season 4's Halloween episode, Fear Demon. Or that's what I'm calling it. I think it's a different episode, but name, but that's what it is about. Number 19, we find the first of 3 South Park episodes. Again, I probably could have combined them all together by like talking about the South Park ones because they're all different and unique. Now, I think they've had other ones. I stopped watching South Park a while ago, so I don't know if they've had other ones right now. But right now, this one is Spooky Fish. This is the second Halloween episode of South Park. Is number 19. And the premise behind this one is so great also because it makes fun of Star Trek as well, where they have doppelgangers coming from an evil alternate universe coming over. There's one. It's evil Cartman has come over, and regular Cartman has switched over to the evil universe. And at the same time, a pet store has opened up, which sells evil pets from the alternate dimension. They just think they're regular pets, but they are evil pets. And as a present, Stan gets a spooky fish, a goldfish, and the goldfish looks like he wants to kill Stan all the time, and Stan is afraid of him, and he like covers him up in because he covers up his bowl of water at night, and there's a thunderstorm and all this stuff, and he keeps seeing the fish and keeps seeing it, and then it disappears. So he thinks it's disappearing, and he gets up and he opens up, and the fish is gone. And then he goes out and looks out the window. The fish has killed and then he turns on the light. The fish has killed somebody in Stan's room. Literally killed somebody, blood everywhere. The fish is evil, so it's killed somebody. So Stan's mother sees this, and she's like, "Oh my God, I got to protect my son. I got to protect my son." And Stan's like, "No, the fish killed him." And she thinks that Stan's going crazy. And then the fish keeps doing it, killing people, and make it look like Stan's killing them. Meanwhile, evil Cartman turns out to be nice Cartman, actually. Because we're talking a alternate universe, which is the opposite of everybody. So the Cartman that the guys know is an asshole, but this new one who's got the beard and everything is a sweet, lovable guy. His mom loves him. Kitty and dog love him. The teachers love him. They think he's great. And then meanwhile, we find out that evil Cartman is teamed up with the evil South Park people, and they're surprised about him also. But he wants to go back to his South Park, and the South Park people want to get their meek, kind Cartman back to theirs. So there's a war that goes between that as well. And then to solve the spooky fish stuff, it's a hilarious episode. And early South Park was always fantastic, particularly the Halloween episodes. And that's number 19. Number 18 is Modern Family. Again, they've done multiple ones. I guess I could have put them together as there's multiple ones, but there was one in specific that I had to choose. It was this one where Phil scares Claire, because Claire always says that Phil can't scare her. And so Phil hatches a plan right out of the Alfred Hitchcock playbook, where he creates he sold a house, but the owners aren't going to be taking accountant for about a year or so. So the house is empty, but he also checks in on it to make sure that nothing happens to it until they move in. And so it's on Claire's running route. And when Claire declares that Phil can never scare her, he hatches the plan to create this character who lives in this house. And Phil runs with her periodically and freaks out when he sees her. It's like, she's always watching me. She's always watching me. And then periodically, when Claire's by herself, Phil dresses up as a woman and waves at her, even though she can't see it. And he's like basically has a whole nother life as this character for about a year leading up to Halloween, just to scare Claire, or maybe it's 6 months. I think it's 6 months actually. And to lead up to the minute where he's going to pull the psycho switch on her, which is an outstanding episode. It's always great to see Phil get the better of Claire every once in a while. That's why that's number 18, and it's actually a really decent one. They've had other decent Halloween episodes as well that I like too, but that one's my favorite. And there we go. Number 17 is Friends, the one with the Halloween party. Surprisingly enough, also, this is the only Halloween episode that they did directly as well. And this takes place later in the seasons after Chandler and Monica are married. They decide to throw a Halloween party as a married couple. And Monica gets Chandler a pink bunny outfit, which he hates. And then Phoebe dresses up as Supergirl, and forget who dresses up as Catwoman. I think maybe Monica might be Catwoman. And they have arguments about who could. They start talking, and then Ross shows up as Spudnik, a play on Sputnik, but it's a potato. And meanwhile, Joey is dealing with some chick, I forget what it is, and Rachel is dealing with trick-or-treaters, and she has no idea how to deal with them, so she like gives away all of her candy to a little girl that says I love you, and then all these other kids start showing up. She starts giving them money, and then she runs out of money, and then she gets some more candy, but then the kids want money instead of the candy, so she has to try to appease them. So she has to pretend to be a girlfriend of one of the trick-or-treat. That's a hilarious story too. But then to go back to the Halloween party, we also have Phoebe running into her twin sister Ursula, also played by Lisa Kudrow, and they haven't really had much interactions in many episodes, but Lisa Kudrow's Ursula is supposedly getting married, so in order to show interest in her twin sister's life, she invites them to the party, but then finds out that Ursula's been lying to this guy about everything that she's done. And so Phoebe's pissed about it. So she tries to drop the bomb on Ursula's fiance about who she actually is, that sort of thing. And then it also ends with Ross and Chandler having a arm wrestling fight, which is hilarious as well. So it's the only episode of Friends that did a Halloween episode, and it's a pretty clever one, though it would have been nice to see maybe more down the line. Number 16 is Angel. Again, Angel season 5 is another one. Man, I have a lot of this. Another one of those TV seasons that is the best TV seasons of all time. Season 5, after the disastrous season 4 and disastrous half of season 3, really. Season 5 was almost like a reboot of the series, where they started working at Wolfram and Hart, and they focused more on office politics and dealing with stuff like that. It brought Spike in as a regular, who was great. And Mercedes McNabb's character came in as a regular also. And it was just one of the absolute greatest seasons of all time. Had some of the best episodes of Angel you ever saw, the Puppet Angel, stuff like that. But the Halloween episode is a clever one as well. It's the fifth episode of season 5. I think it's called Life of the Party. And Lorne, who is the demon who can read someone's fortune by the way they sing or something like that. He's also a very flamboyant party demon. Decides to throw a Halloween party for Wolfram and Hart. Why not? You're a business office and you do Halloween parties. So our main characters are like, ugh, this is stupid. We don't need to do Halloween parties for this place that we hate working at because there are other people who work there besides them. But Lauren's like, no, you got to show that you are just as good as Wolfram and Hart because they had Halloween episodes, Halloween parties all the time. So Lauren says, don't be yourselves, just go out and have a good time tonight. So that's exactly what they do. All the characters start doing different things that they usually are used to doing. Angel hooks up with a woman, and some of the other characters get drunk, and others are dancing on the dance floor. It's just crazy. And then Lauren sort of somehow starts becoming giant or whatever and evil again, and they got to sort of take him down a notch like that. It's a great Halloween episode in a great season of Angel, and continue with that. It's pretty good. Number 15 is another one that a lot of people probably weren't expecting to be on this list either. Wynonna Earp, which is a phenomenal TV series based on a comic book. This is in the final season. Actually, it's about 3 or 4 episodes before the finale, series finale. So it's like season 4, episode 8, something like that. And they take on a murderous scarecrow, which is always my jam. I love murderous scarecrows. I think it's great. So it's great to see that as well. And then you sort of have where Winona and her sister, who are completely different, end up getting like an amnesia sort of thing while they're taking on this demon, and they switch personalities. So Waverly, her sister, becomes the kick-ass sort of take no names, take no prisoners thing, and Winona is the one who becomes sort of the meeker, sort of Waverly-esque one. It's a great episode, and it's one that the sisters really hadn't had a chance to really be together in this season so far, and it was good to see them actually do an episode where it's sort of re-strengthened sort of their bonds of sisterhood. Phenomenal. It's a phenomenal series. If you've never watched Wynonna Earp, you need to check it out, definitely, and I need to do definitely a rewatch because it is such a great series. Now, number 14 is a little confusing to me because when I looked it up originally, because I remembered this one, it didn't seem like it was a Halloween episode. It looked like it debuted like in March or something like that. But then I started doing a little bit more research, and then it actually apparently did show up on Halloween. I'm not exactly sure, but regardless, it doesn't matter because at this point, I wanted to find a Halloween-esque sort of episode to fill this area, and this actually is the perfect one. Number 14 is Boy Meets World, the TGI Friday staple with Fred Savage's brother, I forget his name, and Topanga, Danica McCallum, and stuff like that. But at the time, not Will Forte, but Will something or other, I forget the guy's last name, who plays the older brother, the actor was dating Jennifer Love Hewitt at the time. And this episode came out at that sweet spot in the late 90s, 97, 98, where I Know What You Did Last Summer and Scream and all that were hugely popular. And so since Will is dating one of the main actresses from that era, they said, hey, and she's also a TV actress too. Hey, can we borrow her for an episode and continue the sort of storyline? Because at this time, Topanga and Fred Savage's brother's romance was on the rocks, and Sean, who is Fred Savage's brother's best friend, was trying to get them together, but it was just a disaster, and they weren't going to get back together, and the whole dynamic of the friends relationships were all over the place. So they have detention, and then Jennifer Love Hewitt just happens to be this strange girl who happens to be a exchange student or something like that, who has detention there too, or a girl they've never seen in the school before. And then people start getting killed, and bloody messages start appearing, and it turns into one of these Scream, I Know What You Did Last Summer sort of homages. And it cops out at the end. Obviously, you can't actually have real serial killers going around killing people, but it cops out in the end when it turns out to be all kind of a dream. But it's still a decent Halloween-esque horror episode, something that was way meta, something you did not expect from a Boy Meets World. And it's always good to see prime Jennifer Love Hewitt in the upper 90s at that time. So that's number 14. Lucky number 13 is Sabrina the Teenage Witch, all Halloween episodes. Sabrina Teenage Witch was the Melissa Joan Hart show based on the Archie comic, part of the TGI Friday lineup, like Boy Meets World, stuff like that. And because it's about a teenage witch who lives with her witch aunts and her black cat Salem, who talks, and they have all kinds of witch adventures. That show is in my top 35 spooky series. They always did Halloween episodes, and every one of them is a gem, because when you are a show based, like with a Ghosts, a show based with the supernatural, which is why I'm confused why Angel really only did one Halloween episode and Buffy only did two, technically. I guess their whole show was one big Halloween episode, but it would be more interesting to do, since you are dealing in the creatures and the beings that are most prevalent during spooky season. You think you might want to do sort of Halloween stuff. Now with Buffy's case, they say, Halloween is always, the vampires hate Halloween. They think it's ridiculous. So they stay inside. They think it's the dumbest thing in the world. So there's not a lot of, vampire activity during Halloween. Even vampires are like, fuck that shit. And it's like, I'll talk about that in a little bit when I talk about Buffy, the next Buffy Halloween episode. So when you get Sabrina, always, because it's witches, because witches are so attached to Halloween, you had to get a Halloween episode every season, and all of them are excellent. And I think the one that everybody focuses on is a candy corn river flows through it, which is, again, one of the more brilliant ones, where a flood of candy corn takes over the house during a Halloween party. There's also 10,000 Maniacs plays a concert during one of the Halloween episodes also, which is great too. But the Halloween episodes for Sabrina, the Teenage Witch, the Archie family-oriented TGI Friday shows is number 13. Number 12, Marvel. The Marvel Cinematic Universe decided that they wanted to try to do some different stuff. They do movies, they do TV shows. I've already talked about the TV shows. They say Agatha All Along. I got caught up. The last two episodes I just watched, phenomenal. The Patty LuPone episode is one of the best episodes you're ever going to watch of any TV. But that's we're not talking about that right now. But the MCU decided that, one thing that they remember when they were kids was it was always a big deal when there was a holiday special. And holiday specials on Disney Plus from the MCU gives a chance for characters that might not normally maybe get a series or should get a series or be in a movie, should pop up in the MCU if you find the right opportunity for it. Now, the only problem is there's only been 2 specials, and there should be more. There was supposedly one which was going to introduce Mephisto to the MCU with Sacha Baron Cohen playing him. Was going to be another Halloween one. They've never done it yet, which pisses me off to no end. And they haven't really done any other Christmas ones or whatever. So the first one they ever did was the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special, which is one of the absolute best Christmas specials of all time and is one of the best MCU stories of all time. And when I do my Christmas special list, I guarantee you Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special is up there in the 1 to 2 to 3 window. It's in the top 5, I tell you what, because it is so good. And because of the popularity of that, the problem with that is Guardians of the Galaxy already had 2 movies under the belt, and then this was like sort of a prequel to the 3rd movie that was going to be coming out last year. So it was last year. It wasn't this year, right? It was last year. Yeah, it was last year. So, right? It was last year. Yeah, because Deadpool Wolverine was the only one that came out this year. So that really isn't sort of what the specials are supposed to do. Specials are supposed to be characters you haven't seen before. getting a chance to do a one shot, and if they're popular, you can bring them back in another another show or whatever. So the second one they did is my number 12, and it's Werewolf by Night, based on an actual character in the Marvel Comics universe, filmed in black and white, which was perfect, and it is a 40-minute masterpiece where there's a group of hunters that hunt down supernatural beings, and they're all together at this one event where they're going to be hunting down Man-Thing, which is a character also from Marvel that was introduced in this also. So there's this big maze in this whole area. They got to find it and hunt him down and kill him. But it turns out that one of the hunters is, I forget the character's name, but it's the Werewolf by Night. And he's there to save his friend because Man-Thing is his friend. And no one knows that he's Werewolf by Night. And then eventually it gets out and things go downhill from there. But then when he gets released and starts going after all the hunters, it is amazing. Man-Thing is perfect. Werewolf by Night is perfect. It's one of the best Marvel specials out there. And it's so good, and I probably need to check it out again. It was done in black and white, and then they decided to colorize it, which is a bad idea. But I like the idea of the black and white one. I thought it was decent and definitely worth a look out. So number 12 is the Werewolf by Night special. Number 11, we have, where are you? Is South Park Zombies. The episode's name is Pink Eye. And this is the first ever Halloween episode for South Park. So this is the first season. And it was so great. The first season of South Park had like 1 or 2, maybe 3 episodes. And then you got the Christmas, Thanksgiving. So you get the Halloween, the Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas episodes almost back to back to back. And all of them are good. The Thanksgiving one is great with the rabid turkeys. The zombie turkeys, actually. And then the first Christmas one introduced us to Mr. Hanky. But this one, the Pink Eye episode, is sort of before the zombie apocalypse sort of thing happened. It was just a fun little idea where Kenny dies early on, as he always did in the early episodes. And as he's getting embalmed, something hot sauce or whatever gets into the embalming fluid and brings him back to life as a zombie. And he starts going around and he starts biting people and turning them into zombies. But because the South Park people are so stupid, they see all these people walking around and acting like zombies, but their eyes are all gooey and sticky and itchy and stuff like that. So they think that they have pink eye. And they say, you got to stay away from these people or else you're going to get pink eye. But the boys understand what it actually is, and so does Chef. So they have to figure out a way how to stop the zombie hordes. And the only way to do that is to find the master zombie, who is Kenny, and kill him again. On top of that, one of the other side stories is Cartman, because he's Cartman, decides to wear a Hitler costume for Halloween. And then when the principal sees that, so you got to change, so we're going to turn you into a nice ghost. So it puts a sheet over him, and the principal cuts all these holes and stuff in it to form around Cartman, and it turns him into a Ku Klux Klan character. So it's, again, South Park pushing the boundaries that they usually do, but in a satirical, brilliant way. It's one of the best Halloween episodes, though it is not the best South Park Halloween episode, in my opinion. That's coming up in just a second. Number 10. So our top 10. We're looking at the Garfield Halloween special. This one I do kind of remember a little bit more than the Fat Albert one. Basically, Garfield really wants to go trick-or-treating. So he and Odie decide to go trick-or-treating. They have a great time going trick-or-treating. And then they decide to go off the path to go to the dark side of town, where not a lot of people go, and they end up encountering ghosts and stuff like that. It's a fun little half hour. Garfield, Lorenzo Music doing the voice. It's a part of the whole great Garfield. They did great ones as well. Garfield Thanksgiving and Garfield Christmas are also really good also. So the Halloween one is a very cute one. Again, very quick, very easy. Small stories, I just said that's exactly what you get out of it. And that's what it is. So the Garfield Halloween is episode 10. Episode 9, the number 9 is the second Buffy Halloween episode, and in my opinion, the better one. This is called Halloween. And this is where we find out that vampires tend to think Halloween is stupid and don't go out because it's a waste of their time. And it's just moronic watching the humans pretend to be them, and it's embarrassing to them. But this year's a little bit different. First up, Spike. This is what Spike's season 2 is when Spike and Drusilla made their first appearance. And Spike is not your typical sort of vampire. So he's got some plans. He's got some ideas he wants to do for Halloween, despite it being a non-supernatural, really event for vampires and stuff. But the other key thing is Buffy spies Angel talking to Drusilla, who he sired, and trying to, because he finds out that Spike and Drusilla are in town. He's trying to get them to leave town, but Buffy thinks that it's like a new love interest for him, whatever, and she looks like a princess and all this stuff. So they go to this costume shop that just popped up in town, that's run by this really cool guy who wants you to and get you real excited about Halloween and stuff like that. So most of the gang get their Halloween costumes from this place and dress up in it. We find out that the guy who's running this place is actually one of Rupert Giles's old buddies, who is not exactly a good person. And he's fucking around with everybody by putting a spell on the costumes. So when they put the costumes on, whatever costume they put on, they become that, whatever the costume is. Their personality shifts to that. That way he feels that it'd be easier for him to take over the town or whatever, and with the Slayer and all these people in craziness. And Spike also decides, when he finds out what's going on like that, to maybe do a job to try to take over the town as well, while there's all kinds of stuff going on. So Buffy puts on a princess costume, and when the spell hits, she becomes a meek princess who needs help and doesn't remember being the kick-ass Buffy that she is. Willow has a ghost outfit on. Actually, no. Yeah, ghost outfit on. She originally was going to be like a prostitute sort of thing, a stripper or whatever, but then she got the ghost costume because she couldn't, her body was showing and she was embarrassed by it, and she turns into an actual ghost. Xander is wearing an army suit. He becomes an army guy with all the tactics and stuff like that. Cordelia got her costume from a different place, so she's not affected by it, but she ends up trying to help everybody and loves needling weak Buffy. And then Angel is involved with it as well. And then Rupert finds out that his old buddy is trying to do what he did and wants him to try to turn back the spell so that the town doesn't get overrun by vampires led by Spike. The guy's refusing, so Rupert breaks out his Ripper personality and beats the living shit out of this guy until he change the spell. And then as soon as the spell is changed, Buffy becomes Buffy again, and they kick ass and scare Spike and everybody back and stuff like that. So it's a great episode. Also was one of the first appearances of Seth Green in the role of Oz. He popped up, I think, periodically, whatever, but this was one of his more first appearances where he sort of becomes interested in Willow. So it's always good to see him as well. That's number 9. I said I was going to come back to them, and I am. Number 8 is South Park's Korn episode. Korn is a death metal, heavy metal sort of rock band who is headlining the South Park Halloween festival. The priest in the town, though, thinks that Halloween should not be celebrated because it's a demonic devil, whatever, holiday, and that Korn is a sort of a satanic rock band and stuff like that. And so the day and the night of the Halloween party, all of a sudden pirate ghosts start popping up and attacking people and killing them and stuff like that. And the preacher saying this is all due to the Halloween and corn, stuff like that. And then corn, along with the boys of South Park, turn into like a Scooby-Doo sort of episode to try to solve the case of the pirate ghosts, or ghost pirates, as one of the ongoing jokes of the episode is. And spoiler alert, turns out that it's actually the priest was trying to make a point and faking the pirate ghost, even though it killed a bunch of people. But what's so great about it is that once everything gets cleaned up and everything is solved, whatever, they go back and doing the Halloween party. Apparently most of the people in town have never heard of Korn. So they get ready to play their concert, and it's this death metal stuff, and it's a great song. And it's on my Halloween playlist, actually, to be honest. And the town is so shocked by the music. And it ends, and then the episode ends with that, with the song playing over the credits. It's so freaking funny. That and the pirate ghost pirate discussion is fantastic too. And the whole Scooby-Doo vibe with Korn as the mystery gang with the South Park guys helping out is outstanding. A gem of a South Park episode, probably the best Halloween episode that I've seen. I don't know if any of the later ones were that way, but that was probably one of the funniest, one of the best ones, and that's why it's number 8. Number 7, I talked about the MCU already with Agatha and also with The Werewolf by Night. This one is another kind of surprising one. Agatha All Along is like the middle series of a trilogy. The first part of it that Agatha spun off of is WandaVision, which was the first ever MCU TV show that came out during COVID. 2021 maybe, when COVID was still sort of around, or maybe it was 2020, I'm not exactly sure, but that was the first one to come out. And it's a great series. If you've ever seen WandaVision, it's fantastic. That's great. And then it spun off Agatha All Along. And then the Vision series that's going to start filming in 2025 is going to be the capper to it, because the same creative team is working on all 3 of them. But this WandaVision, if you've never seen WandaVision, basically what it is that when Wanda and her brother Pietro were growing up in the war-torn land that they were, in order to escape sort of the horrors of the land, their father brought a TV show and had videotapes of American TV shows that they showed the kids to get their minds off stuff. So it showed all like the old 1950s and 60s, 70s, 80s, whatever. And maybe I guess somewhat 90s, because they were younger in the 90s, TV shows. But then when a bomb blows up, sent by Stark, that's Stark sold to the country and kills their parents, and they end up having to, and their mutant powers come out, like that. So we find out what, we all know what happens with all of them through the Avengers stuff. So after Avengers Endgame, after Vision has been killed and Wanda and him were together, Vision was, if they would have survived this Infinity War, Vision had bought a plot of land for him and Wanda to live out the remaining days. They were going to quit being superheroes and just live the life of a family in this nice little town called Westview. But when all that shit went down, not only with what happened to Vision in Endgame and Infinity War, but what happens afterwards, we don't find out till a flashback near the end episodes of WandaVision, what actually happened to Vision that really sent her over the edge. Wanda uses her chaos power to enslave the entire town of Westview and turn it into, and control them and turn it into her comfort TV shows. So the first episode has Wanda and Vision, now alive and able to turn human, pulling up to their dream house in the 1950s I Love Lucy-esque sort of thing. And we're introduced to some of the neighbors, and Agatha, who is the nice neighbor next door, who is always the best friend who keeps popping in and stuff like that. And then we learn at the end of the episode that there is someone watching them on TV in present day. And then we go to episode 2, and it's moved up to like the 1960s sort of, or 1970s Brady Bunch sort of, I think so. I don't quite remember how if it was something else in there, 1960s, 70s. So it hits, and it does like a specific genre of film, and it increases the story, and we learn more and more about the story. But that's besides the point. We finally get to the seventh episode of WandaVision, I believe, which takes place in the 90s, and it's a Malcolm in the Middle homage. And Pietro had popped up but Evan Peters Pietro, who played Pietro in the Sony X-Men movies, and not Aaron Johnson, Taylor Johnson, whatever, who played in the MCU. He played Evan Peters plays Pietro in this, and it's a Halloween episode of WandaVision as Westview is celebrating Halloween. And what makes it so great is Wanda is in her comic accurate costume as her Halloween costume. Her kids are in their comic accurate costumes as the Young Avengers. Vision is in his comic accurate Vision costume as well. And Pietro is in his comic accurate version of his costume also. And we go out and we see the town celebrating Halloween and all this stuff. But Vision, during the whole show, Vision is starting to suspect something's going on with Wanda. And he decides to investigate it during Halloween, makes up a story that he and the boys are going to be doing security, make sure that no bad kids, whatever. And he tries to see what's going on, and eventually finds out that he gets to the far end of Westview, and everyone's like frozen in place, including Agatha, who's in a car just frozen stiff. And he goes down and talks to her, and she snaps out of it. She's dressed as a witch, and she tells him that this isn't right, something's wrong, Wanda's doing something and stuff like that. And then he realizes that there's something past this shield, so he goes out and enters the real world, but it starts to dissolve him. Meanwhile, his kids discover this and tell Wanda, and so she expands the bubble of Westview to keep Vision alive, but that goes, and the shield that's been out there watching their stuff, they get sucked into the Westview bubble as well, and that's where the cliffhanger ends. And then you have the final couple episodes, which are based on Modern Family, where everything gets explained about what's going on in WandaVision. So this is the penultimate episode before we find out what's going on, and it is so good because it is so Halloween-esque. It's because Wanda wants a typical sort of cliche sort of Halloween. It's got Halloween activities, and the kids are dressed up, and everybody's house is decorated, and there's all kinds of activities, and they're all wearing their comic accurate outfits, and that's what's even cooler also, and that's why it's number 7. It's such a great episode too. Number 6 finds us with one of the best episodes of Night Court. Night Court was already a great show, and it also had a bunch of Halloween episodes, but this one sticks out, and that's why I picked it instead of just saying Night Court, all the great episodes. This one sticks out to me most of all because it is one of the best Halloween episodes out there. So Night Court premise is a group of goofy people are working the night court in New York, where they deal, courts keeps being in session. I mean, it's not just during the day. At night, they handle prostitution and stuff like that because law has got to keep going and moving. And Harry Anderson plays Judge Harold T. Stone, who has always sort of been a magic lover and prankster and just a goofy in general, but he's also a decent judge also. And this episode from season 6, so we're talking about the show has now pretty much been, ensconced now. So we know the characters, we know what they're doing, we know what's going on, and we know how the episodes run. But this Halloween episode is a little bit different than the others because it is so good. It starts off with Harry on Halloween night doing night court stuff, and he's doing Halloween goofy stuff, and everybody's dressed up, and it's all just kind of, and the people who are out there, who are in there, who watch the court cases are all dressed up, and it's just fun Halloween vibe and stuff like that. The first case, Stephen Root, who's a fantastic character actor, he's my stapler. You know him from Stapler. He's my stapler. He's did that. He was in News Radio. He's been all over the place, but mostly known as Milton from All Space. He's my stapler. He's also one of the voices in King of the Hill as well. But Stephen Root plays a guy who claims to be the embodiment of death. And he was, I forget what his crime was, but it was a crime where he was trespassing or something like that. And his defense is that he's the embodiment of death, and he was just doing his job to take this next soul onto to his great reward. Harry doesn't buy it for a second, puts him in jail till he's able to make bail or whatever, and puts him in jail. Doesn't think much of it. Crazy guy, thinks he's the embodiment of death. It's Halloween night, and all of a sudden, once the guy who claims to be death is jailed, weird things start to happen. Art, who is the exterminator's custodian, repair worker, worker who works at repair, stuff like that. He's been having a termite problem, and he's been finding these tons of termites, and he's got these massive, major killer termite bombs, which have never failed him. And he uses a bunch of them to kill all these termites or mice or whatever, and none of them are dying. And then other things start having, other creatures aren't dying. People who are coming up to be in court cases have injuries that probably should have killed them, and they're not dying either. So it's starting to be a little bit odd that maybe this guy is not crazy. And then it gets even better when during their lunch break, the new newspapers come out, because it's after midnight, so the new newspaper comes out, and there's an obituary of Dan Fielding in the newspaper, but he's not dead. And he was supposed to die earlier, it says in the obituary. There was something that happened, like when the termites got through, like a piece of wood just missed him or whatever. So he was supposed to die during that, and he didn't. So now everybody started getting freaked out a little bit. So Harry's got to try to get to the bottom of it. And it is a great capper, a great episode, and makes you think a little bit about stuff. It's a really good one. That's why it's number 6. Number 5 is another animated show. Ghostbusters was one of the best movies of 1984. Is a great Halloween movie. It was on my Halloween movie list up high, obviously. And then they did a spin-off cartoon called The Real Ghostbusters, which was amazing and did some great. And they did a number of Halloween episodes, including 2 that was one of my favorite Halloween beings of all time, Sam Hain. And in the one episode I did pick, there's Halloween 2.5 and there's Eternal Halloween. And I picked Eternal Halloween over Halloween 2.5, but both of those are Sam Hain episodes. He's a pumpkin-headed sort of, and he's always been a guy that I love to draw, and I'm being a pumpkin head sort of similar to him for my Halloween costume at work. So I'll have the giant pumpkin head, but I'll be wearing a pumpkin suit instead of a cloak. So I won't be Sam Hain. I'll be the Great Pumpkin in this case. But I'll be actually living what I've been doing. But I used to draw this character all the time, and I love it. Pumpkin head and the flowing robes and stuff like that. And it's phenomenal. And they are some of the best Halloween episodes. Real Ghostbusters is one of the best animated shows. And if I was doing animated shows for my spooky series, it would have been on there. But I decided to go against animated. But I'm not having that here because this is one of the best Halloween episodes. So I said Halloween 2.5 is good, but Eternal Halloween is much better. And Sam Hain's plan is to create Eternal Halloween, and he's fairly successful. And the Ghostbusters have to figure out a way to stop him. And I really wish they would, for the next Ghostbusters Afterlife movie, bring Sam Hain in somehow. That would be my choice for villain for them to face. A good Halloween Ghostbusters movie, live action, with that cast and Afterlife. And if you want to bring in the old cast, but I think that was the problem with Frozen Empire, was they had too many actors. You need to focus more on the new staff, I think, and maybe have Aykroyd in there and Ernie Hudson are really the only two that probably need to be there. Murray didn't need to be there. Janine really didn't need to be there. And Atherton's character was good as a foil. He could be there as well if you want to. But I would prefer to have just seen, and then you added a couple new characters that shouldn't have been there, but that's besides the point. I want to see a Ghostbusters Afterlife sequel with Sam Hain as a bad guy, and maybe adapt Eternal Halloween because it's such a great story. And just it's a perfect Halloween story. That's why it's number 5. Number 4 might surprise you because this isn't really a TV show, and it's not really kind of a special, but it kind of is. People my age remember the excitement in 1981, I believe. I think it was 81. Or it might have been 80 or 81, when MTV launched their cable channel. It was the hottest channel for the longest time, playing videos. And if it was popular on MTV, it would be dollars when you buy the records and the CDs at the record shops. I believe coming to 83 or 84, and you have one musician by the name of Michael Jackson, who has one of the best-selling albums of all time, Thriller, drop. I think it's 83 or 84. And Thriller was one of the singles from Thriller, included Beat It and Billie Jean and Say were the other ones that I remember as being singles. And Thriller was also. I think PYT was another single they did. Regardless, so Thriller, though, is a song that is a very Halloween-esque sort of song. Even has Vincent Price have a rap in the middle of it and a classic Vincent Price laugh at the end of the song. But the song is very like Halloween-y, haunting sort of thing. Again, also on my Halloween playlist that you can look on your if you go to my YouTube page, you can check that out as well. And then John Landis, the director of American Werewolf in London, was tasked to direct the video for Thriller. And Michael Jackson wanted to make it an event, so they ended up making a 15-minute video, 20-minute video, which was basically kind of a short film. And that's number 4. The Thriller short film they had a shorter version, I think, that they played on MTV that was only like 3 minutes long, but it cut out all the extraneous stuff. But everybody wanted the extraneous stuff because it was a werewolf movie. You know, it starts off with Michael Jackson walking with a girl in the neighborhood and talking about weird stuff. And then he turns into like this sort of werewolf sort of creature. And then it looks like he's getting ready to attack her. It cuts to the actual Michael Jackson with the same girl, but watching the movie in the movie theater. She's scared. She's like, okay, we'll leave. And so they go walking and he starts singing Thriller, and then zombies start appearing, coming after them. And then he turns into a zombie, and then they do the zombie dance. And then, it's like, oh, this is really kind of cool. And then after the song is almost over, it reverts back to the horror film where the zombies go and chase the girl into a house, and they are attacking her in this house. It's one of the creepiest sort of videos you've ever seen. And then just as she's about to die, she wakes up. It was all a dream, and she was in Michael's house. And he's like, I'll take you home. And he walks out, and he turns the camera. He's got the demonic eyes, and you hear the Vincent Price laugh. It is one of the best video short films of all time. I loved it, and MTV played it maybe once a day at a specific time. If you missed it, you didn't see it again. And I swear they probably did an edited version of it, but I don't recall. But that I had to put that at number 4 because it is such a iconic Halloween song. If you go to any Halloween party, Thriller will be playing there. And it's basically a song that absolutely is about like a Halloween sort of stuff. And then the video with John Landis directing it and all the extraneous stuff in it and the zombies dancing is also a horror zombie sort of thing that you need to love as well. And that's why it fits and why it's number 4. Number 3 finds the Brooklyn Nine-Nine heists. Brooklyn Nine-Nine had their annual Halloween heist. So every season of their show, they did a Halloween heist. And it was always a great episode where they would have to scheme and work together or work against each other and to try to become the best thing there is. There are crosses and double crosses and triple crosses. And the the dog that Andre Brower owns turns on him and stuff like that. It's so great. And there's just so much cool stuff that there would be, if I had the list, I listed every episode, Brooklyn Nine-Nine's heist episodes would take up like 6 or 7 slots on this list. And that's not fair. They're all pretty good. The last couple seasons ones were not as good. The final episode ever of Brooklyn Nine-Nine was a heist episode. So it wasn't quite set during Halloween, but still it was a heist episode. And then there was one where it hit every holiday. It was every holiday heist instead of just Halloween. And then before that, all the other ones were Halloween. They're major story arcs as well. It's when the characters got engaged. It's whatever. But it's Brooklyn Nine-Nine's Halloween heists. All of them are number 3. Again, I had to combine them all because, as I said, if I did them all, they all deserve to be on the top 25. So half of them would be, or six slots would be these Brooklyn Nine-Nine heists. Number 2, of course, there's never been any more classic newspaper cartoon that had a classic animated holiday special like Charlie Brown. Charlie Brown's Christmas special is one of the most watched, most beloved Christmas specials of all time. The Thanksgiving episode has a lot of issues to it, but it's still a well-loved one. Not as well-loved as the Christmas one, and not as well-loved as number 2. It's The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. A phenomenal, fun, annual, have to watch it annually, had to watch it every year when it came on, the whole CBS sort of thing. And then you knew this was going to be great. The Linus and Lucy music, and just I forget the guy's name, but the music for Charlie Brown is let me find it here. Vince Guaraldi's. His Christmas stuff is fantastic, but the Halloween stuff is just as good. And The Great Pumpkin is a great story where Linus believes in a great pumpkin who's basically Santa Claus. He doesn't really believe in Santa Claus, who goes around and delivers presents to good kids at Christmas time. Instead, he believes that there's a great pumpkin that floats through the pumpkin patch and gives presents to little boys and girls. And he's got to convince people to do it, but they refuse to because they want to go trick-or-treating. And of course, what sucks about the episode is that Charlie Brown gets mistreated so badly in this episode, and there's no reason for it, but we're not going to get into that. But the show itself, the special itself, is a great one. It's Halloween, the Vince Guaraldi music, bits and scenes here and there. The opening sequence where Linus and Lucy, it's played to the music. They're going to the pumpkin patch to get a pumpkin, and it's them, no dialogue, them just trying to get it into the house. And then they have the kicker at the end, right before the credits, where Lucy stabs it, and Linus is like, "No, I didn't know you were going to kill it." And that's a great little kicker joke there. And then the whole Great Pumpkin stuff, and then Charlie Brown getting his costume, can't get that right, gets a rocket for Christmas time instead of candy, which is a bunch of bullshit. Then they have the Halloween party. They use his head for a pump. It's stupid. Meanwhile, Snoopy is thinking he's taking on the Red Baron, and his plane crashes and he's behind enemy lines. So we have that whole storyline going on as well. And then Linus trying to impress Sally with the Great Pumpkin stuff. So it is a great show, great music, and is a classic. And everybody has seen it. Everybody knows about it. That's why it's number 2. It's my number 2. A lot of people will have number 1, but my number 1 is every Halloween for 35 years. People are always looking forward to this episode of The Simpsons. The Simpsons Treehouse of Horror is number 1, but because there are 34, since this is the 35th season, there are 34 of them, and I haven't watched every single one of them. I stopped watching The Simpsons a while ago, but I watched a good half of them, and I've seen the bits and pieces of the other ones through various reels, stuff like that, and read about them. The Treehouse of Horror episode is one of the best Halloween, if not the best Halloween. Everybody looks forward to them. It's the way for the Simpsons to tell different stories, making homages and parodies of current and popular horror films, but also horror TV shows. They've done parodies of Edgar Allan Poe, of Amityville Horror, zombies, Freddy Krueger, Death Note, serial killers, Evil Twins, Twilight Zone, even the 3D episode where it was the first time 3D animation was used and Homer gets trapped in a 3D universe, and the one where he time travels back in time and changes time all over the place. That's the same 3D episode. No, it isn't. It's a different one. And it just, it's so many different, and King Kong is in there. So many different homages and parodies and their versions of the stories. And it just makes it so great. And then they had little bits that lead into the storylines. They sort of cut those out after the first few seasons. So they just go directly to the stories. And it gives them a chance to do stuff to their characters that they normally aren't allowed to do. There's one where Lisa is a serial killer and she kills like Ralph and Bart and all these people. And then there's one where Bart's a vampire and he attacks everybody in Springfield. And there's one where Marge is possessed by a demon, and it's up to Maggie to stop her, and does it with perfect ingenuity. So the Halloween episodes are a chance for the Simpsons creators to get away from your typical Simpsons stuff and do stuff that you would always want to do with the characters that you normally can't do during the regular season, because the regular season you're following their lives, their realistic lives. These are all sort of fantasies that they live through, and that's why it's so perfect. 34 of the Simpsons Treehouse of Horror episodes. Just brilliant, some fantastic ones. I had to make it number one because there are so many. And apparently there was an actual Halloween episode that was set on Halloween, set during the regular Simpsons season. I never saw it, so I didn't put it on this list. But it gives them a chance to do these parodies and homages to classic movies and TV shows and current movies and anime and stuff like that. And it's so great and it's so perfect. And that's why they're always going to be number one. Well, I did it. It's 11:48. Actually, it's perfect time. Once I finish this up, I'm going to head right upstairs and go to bed because tomorrow is another day. That's it for all the pop culture stuff. Tomorrow will be my top Halloween costumes that I've had. Tuesday will be some pop culture, but I won't be doing it. My daughter will. If she ends up backing out, which she may very well do so, I do have a backup, though it's not really Halloween related. But there's a connection to Halloween, which I might bring up, but it's kind of a personal sort of thing because a big sort of anniversary for me is coming up on Halloween this year. But that's enough. If you've watched some episodes from my show from a year or so ago, you know what it is, but I'm not going to say anything else about that. And then Wednesday before the Halloween Eve, Mischief Night, whatever you want to call it, I will have my top reasons why Halloween is great. And then I'm done this, and I'll do my regular show, Dylan Knows, on Saturday. Thanks for hanging out with me. I had a lot of fun in this episode. And now it's time for bed. And we're Halloween week now. So enjoy, get excited. It's getting close. Bye-bye.